Okay, hello everybody, this is Chiosuke with another cast. Today we are going to be playing a Terran vs. Terran on Runes of Ceres. I am going to be the red one, spawning in the bottom right. Whoosh! And in the bottom left of Runes of Ceres, it is going to be Dyukusi. He's going to be our blue Terran opponent. Going to decide to wall off, and we're going to be speeding things up as this game gets underway. As, again, not too many things can happen. It does look like our opponent is going to be going for a gas first, opting for that wall in. On Runes of Ceres, Reapers can't actually get in because of, if I can rotate the camera correctly, these little doodads. I have said it before, and I just don't personally like Reapers that much on this map. So, instead, I'm also going to be going for a gas first, but we messed up the build a little bit, so the gas is a little bit delayed. Our opponent is going to be getting the correct scouting location and going to be seeing the gas count for me. Going to be seeing that I'm getting up my second gas as well. I'm going to be starting up my factory here and starting up a mariner. And I'm going to be scouting in the wrong direction, unfortunately. Going to be starting up my barracks right here to spot for potential drops. Going to be doing a little bit of stutter step micro, but unable to kill that SCV, so he's going to be able to get back home completely safe. And again, this SCV, he's on a mission to find nothing. Our opponent did go for a Reaper, and look at this. They added a new Reaper grenade icon, man. Looks beautiful. And we are going to see how much damage our opponent can get done with this. Going to be running up into the main base. Barely gets away with that Reaper. And that was my micro. I'm going to be taking some unnecessary damage on those Marines. Our opponent is going to be continuing to produce Hellions and Reapers, and going to just now start his Star War. It is quite delayed compared to us because he has been going for those Reapers. Going to be going for a tank and a medevac. I wanted to try out a tank push. A very fast tank push just to see how it would work out against our opponent. So, the positioning for our opponent's units are going to be very aggressive. I like this a lot because the Reapers have a regenerate ability. Also, they have their grenades that they can spam, so the earlier you engage the enemy army, the more opportunities you'll have to deal the damage without them being in a bad spot for you. So I really enjoy this play from our opponent. In the meantime, he is going to be going and getting his expansion, again, just continuing to produce Hellions and Reapers here. Grouping everything up, and we do have our siege tank in the medevac. Going to be engaging these units here, and he is going to be throwing a bunch of grenades, and look at that, it just like instantly kills all those Marines. That's beautiful. So because of it, can't really do too much. We're going to be sending this tank out just to do some harassment, and I actually think that was a mistake. Should probably try and use the tank to defend against these Reapers and Hellions, because look at this. Going to be killing off the SCV that's building my natural expansion. Also could do a lot of damage. Going to be focusing down this tank. I pull off some SCVs to repair. Going to be throwing down some grenades probably. Yep, and there they go. Going to be doing a lot of damage on top of the Reapers, or on top of the tank. In the meantime, we do have our Seagull siege tank in this medevac. Going to be doing a little bit of damage here. Has gotten one kill. Liberator is going to be popping out for our opponent though, so not doing too much for us. Going to be dropping the siege tank here yet again, but the Liberator is going to be sieging up. And this micro was just terrible. So he was able to kill that. I really shouldn't have lost that siege tank. So we are in a pretty bad spot in terms of economy, just because our opponent has had his natural expansion up for quite a long time. And we are just now starting to produce it. And I mean, in terms of just supply, we're a little bit up. But our economy is going to be suffering a little bit. So we do have a larger tank count than our opponent, I do believe. Yeah, we have 2 to our opponent's none. So I wanted to try and deal some pressure, especially since we know we're behind in terms of economy. He comes back in with the Hellion Reaper force, and I do have a tank at the natural expansion, so that should be fended off. Going to be attacking this bunker that he is trying to pick up, and we should be able to kill it, or at least force him to cancel. Yeah, oh, nope, get the SCV, no cancel. Looks like he attempted to do some sort of pressure, but the siege tank, man, MVP. So going to be lifting up everything into the medevacs, and going to be dropping them into the main base of our opponent. And, not able to get too much damage done. Was able to force him to pull the SCVs off of the mineral line, which is great for us. Going to be doing the same thing, and this time parking behind the supply depots. But the siege tank comes out for our opponent, so we're going to be losing one of ours. And let's see what else we can get here. In terms of units now, we have around the same amount of SCVs. Going to be dropping directly onto this tank, going to be targeting a Hellion, doing a little bit of damage to that, and right, in the main base, we have a Liberator just messing with our economy here. So it has already gotten 6 kills, and it has also prevented a lot of mining in my main base. And move the SCVs! Move the SCVs! Okay, so this drop in the main base did a little bit of damage, but man, this Liberator, man, doing work. And he is going to be unseating the Liberator. And man, Liberators are really fast. Can't exactly see the movement speed in the replay, but they are quite faster than the Viking. So let's look at the production tab. We do have our stim a little bit ahead of our opponent, but again, the main story is just the SCVs. He was able to harass us quite a bit, and that one Liberator, man, doing a lot of damage. I wasn't able to get a Viking out fast enough in order to deal with that. If I had like 1 or 2, then that would have been great. To deal with that early Liberator pressure, and it would have saved me a lot of mining time in SCVs. So, got to remember to prioritize making Vikings. Possibly even a Cyclone would have been great as well, especially since I had the factory with the tech lab. But in the meantime, we are going to be both starting up our 3rd CCs. My stim pack is just finished, and I'm getting my combat shield. Our opponent getting combat shield at around the same time. 2 tech labs on the barracks. More of a TvP type build, but doesn't change the fact that our opponent is ahead. So, going to be killing off a scouting Hellion. I'm sending a couple of Marines around the map just to spot for a potential attack. Grabbing this watchtower is extremely important, but also placing a Marine in this path is also important as well. Just because they can just skirt around the watchtower. I think I do catch a little bit of this. I scan, see his army, see a couple of siege tanks and medevacs, siege up my siege tanks, pick them up in my medevacs. I stim randomly. I'm not sure about that. I think I just go down and stim. But man, you can see how bad Marines are against tanks. Jesus Christ, they just got evaporated. The siege tanks are going to be killed for him, and he's going to be lifting everything he has up. Going to be sieging his Liberator and killing off one of my tanks, killing off a lot of Marines as well. Oh god, this micro is terrible. Going to be pulling the Viking back from my main base in order to kill off this Liberator. He's going to be lifting up to try and deal with it. Siege tank is going to be firing on top of it though, and then he decides to re-pick up everything he has. He does have a siege tank in here as well, and going to be dropping into the main base. Looks like I was trying to build a couple of engineering bays. Not going to be able to do so though, and let's see. Going to be pulling back a siege tank and a medevac. Going to have a couple of Marines back here, but all of the Marines and siege tanks at the natural expansion need to get up here. In the meantime, going to be pulling more SCVs. So finally going to be able to stem back up here and eventually clean this up. Viking going to be doing some damage. Are we going to be able to kill the medevac? Maybe? Oh, nope. Okay, so, things aren't going too great, but let's see. In terms of units lost, we're not that far behind. Only 400 minerals. It's just the SCV count, like I've said earlier this game. We are now 20 workers down. And our opponent has killed 24, so wow. Going to be picking up a bunch of our siege tanks and just going to be going for a counterattack. The one advantage that we do have, let's see, we have 3 tanks to our opponent's none. We have 20 Marines to his 14, so we are in a good position in terms of army, it looks like. And our opponent is landing his 3rd base. Doesn't have it as an orbital command, but again, he doesn't have any siege tanks, so this is our time to shine. Oh, well, one just did pop out. We are going to be boosting, stimming, and it looks like one of our siege tanks gets picked off immediately because of bad positioning, but we are able to push back and kill most of his army. One of his siege tanks gets sieged up, and oh god, move the Marines, move the Marines. And going to be repositioning to start sieging up this 3rd base. And going to start firing on top of it. Going to be scanning his natural expansion just to see where he's positioning in that one siege tank. And I do have a good position right on this 3rd base. So now is our time to catch up in terms of units, and in the production tab, I should really be producing SCVs right now. This is a huge mistake because we are so far behind in terms of SCVs anyway. Well, there's one on the production tab, that's great. So I'm trying to move in, and I think microing this more is a mistake. And that's just bad. He did have a drop over here, and it looks like he's just trying to sandwich this push. Going to be stimming up, and the Marines are now out of position, and he's able to pick off that tank finally. Going to be pulling a few of his SCVs here, and I'm going to be boosting out kills off the Viking that I had there as well. And in terms of units, we do have more Marines and tanks than him again, but he has more Marauders. Marauders aren't that great against Marines, they're just more tanky. They do more damage to siege tanks as well, but again, they're not great in Marine tank versus Marine tank. You really just want to be favoring the Marines, unless you're going to be using the Marauders to stim into the siege tank line, in which case just know that more players favor splitting their units before they engage the tanks, unless that's not possible, so I'm not completely sure. I stim randomly right here, that was a mistake. I think I was probably trying to siege my tanks. I'm pretty sure that's the same hotkey for grid players. And let's see here. So, we are getting our +1/+1, it is just about to finish, and we are just about to match our opponent. We're going to be using our siege tanks, and again, I'm just placing my siege tanks a little bit too far forward here. And I was trying to be a little bit too aggressive here. I think my idea behind that was I wanted to place the siege tanks to try and pick off some units and then retreat back. But I only dropped the siege tanks and I didn't retreat, and then it didn't really do any damage. It just made me lose all my siege tanks. So now we are in a extremely bad position. 2 to 3 siege tanks, 42 Marines to his 19, so I guess that's not bad. It's just we need to group everything up. Group everything up. Get ready for the tank push. Oh god, okay, so everything's not attacking at the same time. And in terms of production, we do have +2/+2 on the way, so if we can fend off this attack, we are going to be in a pretty good spot. In terms of units, we now have 61 SCVs, and that's pretty much where you want to be if you're on 3 base, especially if you don't have your gases up at one of your bases. Oh, okay. And this is what I was trying to do again, trying to move the siege tanks. And, okay, so here's the engagement. Going to be using the Marines, and it looks like he just has a few more, just more stuff than us. And because of it, he's going to be able to break our mineral, our siege tank and Marine line. Going to be getting a few Marines from the natural expansion and stimming in to try and engage this, but the Marauders are just so tanky, especially with this mini Medivacs healing them up. And we are going to be pulling SCVs again from the 3rd base here, and it looks like we might be able to clean this up here. And we are just being as resilient as we can be, never give up, never surrender. +2/+2 is halfway done for us. Our opponent has not started his +2/+2 yet, which is great. And we are getting our +1 attack for our siege tanks as well, which is very important. But we are now 50 supply down. It's just becoming more and more of a discrepancy. We lost a lot of workers in that last engagement as well. 34 workers have now gone down. And we are going to be sieging up. Looks like he has a couple of siege tanks ready for this engagement as well. Going to be stimming a little bit late here. All of the Marines don't engage at the same time. Half of them were back here. And nope, the tankiness of the Marauders just soaking up a couple of those siege tanks is just too good, especially when you don't engage with all the Marines at the same time. So now again on the back foot, and this time we are the ones who are low on the siege tank count. Our opponent now has the 5 to our 2. Our random siege tank is going to be coming in, but he stims up, going to be sieging one of our tanks, and going to be able to possibly fend this pushback, and it looks like we are going to be able to do it for the time being. But again, overcommitting, now all of his reinforcing units have caught up with him, and that was a mistake. So going to be trying to gather up as many forces, again using the siege tank medevac combo to just try and harass his army as much as possible before he gets to my base. But I think this is just the nail in the coffin. So now he's matched our Marine count, and he just has more siege tanks, trying to reposition everything, but unable to really get too much work here. So we were able to do some damage but it looks like this is going to be the nail in the coffin. Going to be leapfrogging his tanks with the Medivacs here, and I'm not even going to be able to um, survive at the third base. We did move our main base to this base over here, and looks like our opponent just made a base, and I scanned it as well to see his economy. But mainly, I think the main issue in this game was just micro and decision making. The Marines, we didn't always have them grouped up before we attacked. The Medivac tank combo, we seemed to lose a lot, but we were able to come back into this game a little bit, especially with this attack. It's just like the consecutive loss of the bad engagements, the consecutive bad engagements, I should say, was what really just drove us to death here. But I thought it was still a pretty good game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments or concerns or any questions, just let me know. Thanks for watching as always. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.